Hello ladies, gentlemen, and non-binary compatriots. I'm Rafe Rickard, and welcome back to Superhero Kill Counts. Today we'll be taking a look at the first of many sequels to the original X-Men movie, X2, released in 2003, and directed by Bryan Singer. Sometimes marketed with the subtitle X-Men United, and known internationally as X-Men 2. X2 follows the team as they're forced to work together with Magneto to take down a common enemy. Meanwhile, Logan begins to piece together his past. Don't worry, this isn't Origins yet. People actually like this one. According to Scream 2 rules, sequels always have a higher body count. Now let's see if that's true and find out how many people die in this beloved X-Men sequel. The film opens, once again, with Professor X telling us about mutants, as if we didn't see the first movie, while delivering some pretty spot-on social commentary. After an opening credits sequence that looks like it came right out of your middle school biology PowerPoint, we have a title. We're thrown into a tour of the White House, further continuing this franchise's underlying goal of trying to teach me things. I see what you're doing, movie. And things start to go awry when we meet our first new mutant of the film, Kurt Wagner, otherwise known as Nightcrawler. He's on a mission to assassinate the president, and after a pretty badass display of his teleportation ability and tail fighting skills, he gets pretty damn close. That is until a guard shoots him in the back, causing him to drop his knife and teleport out of there ASAP. From there, we transition to the Great White North, where Logan is pursuing Professor X's lead from the first movie by checking out Alkali Lake in hopes of learning something about how he came to have a skeleton so metal Lars Ulrich would be jealous. He finds it to be an abandoned military base, nothing there but snow and this adorable freaking wolf. Fun fact, Hugh Jackman didn't know Wolverines were real animals when he got the role of Logan. It doesn't have anything to do with the movie, I just think it's funny. Checking in on the rest of our mutant friends leads us to a museum where Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters is on a field trip, so here, have some more education. It's here that we get an idea there may be something going on with Jean Grey. She's hearing voices involuntarily, messing with televisions, and freaking out Cyclops. Apparently, she's been having trouble controlling her abilities lately. I wonder if that storyline will be butchered in later movies. Twice. Meanwhile, Rogue is hanging out with Bobby and John, now played by Aaron Stanford, who we find out has a fiery temper. Now, luckily, Iceman is here to save the day. With their mutant cover blown, Professor X demonstrates his ability to just freeze everybody, which I guess is a thing he can do. He'd be amazing at freeze tag. And he scolds John before catching sight of a news broadcast informing our team about the White House attack and cutting their field trip short.
My opinion, Magneto's behind this.
Back at the mansion, it turns out the professor was able to track a location on the assassin using Cerebro and send Storm and Jean on a mission to pick him up. In the White House, we're introduced to William Stryker, a military colonel. He brings news to the president of a mutant training facility.
Where did you get this information?
Interrogation of one of the mutant terrorists from the Liberty Island incident?
So yeah, I wasn't that far off. Turns out this training facility Stryker found is a mansion, an X-mansion. He confirms his source of this information to be Magneto, and that sounds pretty fishy to Mystique, who is impersonating Senator Kelly from the first movie. The president gives Stryker permission to raid the mansion and find a connection to his would-be assassin. Meanwhile, back at the mansion, we see the budding relationship between Rogue and Iceman. They're about to share their first and possibly last kiss when they're interrupted by the only man who can rock a square haircut. He's greeted by Storm, who has completely lost her accent from the first movie, and Jean as they're on their way out to track down Nightcrawler. We check in on Magneto in his plastic prison as William Stryker enters alongside a guard named Mitchell Lorio. They beat and drug Eric, forcing him into compliance, and if you weren't already sure who the villain is going to be in this movie, I think this scene should clue you in pretty well. Mystique sneaks into Stryker's office. On his computer, she discovers where Magneto's being held and who his guard is. Wait a minute, did they just spell Eric's name with a C? What kind of nonsense is this? Anyway, she also finds all of Stryker's research on the X-Mansion, so I guess that's pretty important, and she gets out of there before she's caught by Stryker's assistant, Yuriko Oyama. Jean and Storm manage to track down Nightcrawler, a Catholic German teleporter and former circus performer, who says he wasn't in control of his actions and doesn't know what happened. Oh hey, and he has that same scar that Eric has on the back of his neck. Toad's twinning! Speaking of Eric, Scott and Charles go to pay him a visit. This is where we learn that William Stryker's son Jason was a mutant who attended Xavier's school. Unfortunately, Charles wasn't able to help him.
At least not in the way that his father wanted.
Eric starts getting a serious case of creeper face as he clues Charles in on Stryker's plans to raid the school. Charles and Eric are knocked out as the cell fills with gas, and Scott is taken out of commission by Yuriko. At the school, Logan awakens from another nightmare about his past and decides to crack open a cold one with the Iceman.
Got any beer?
This is a school.
Well, a cold soda, that is. Logan hears something and goes to investigate. It turns out Stryker's men are in the building and straight up tranking kids left and right. One of them goes to attack Logan, which is always a bad idea, and so we can add him to the kill count. As Colossus gets the kids out of the mansion, Logan goes on a protective massacre, killing, to my count, 5 of Stryker's goons. He kills 2 of them as he leaves the kitchen. Those are also the bodies that we see when Colossus throws 2 more through a wall. Note the plant in the window on both shots. Next, he slashes 2 in the hallway, whose bodies are seen by Rogue and Bobby when they run downstairs. Notice a slashed flashlight, which Logan cut in half before killing 1 soldier. Finally, he stabs 1 in the foot and then in his gut as his gun fires off and is then silenced, so I'm gonna count that as a kill. As 4 soldiers enter, Logan lunges at 2 of them. However, they're seen to be twitching, so they don't go on the count. And he grabs the other 2 with his claws and flings them across the room. Now call me an optimist, but I think they could survive that. As Logan prepares to take on more soldiers, he is confronted by the big boss himself, William Stryker. He recognizes Logan and starts teasing him, but Logan is all like,
Wait a minute! Who are you?
Logan thinks he's about to get some answers, but then a wall of ice forms between them and Rogue calls for Logan to leave. Logan, Rogue, Bobby, and John all escape in Cyclops' car, where we get a classic 2000s song reference.
I don't like uncomfortable silences.
What are you doing?
And they're gonna head toward Boston to meet up with Storm and Jean. Oh, and it turns out Bobby's family also lives in Boston. Small world. Meanwhile, Stryker's men take to the basement and steal Cerebro, also confirming that they have 6 children in their custody. Man, these guys suck. Mystique meets up with Lorio in a bar and roofies him. As they start making out in the bathroom, he passes out, and Mystique injects him with a syringe chock full of iron. I mean, look how big that thing is. That can't be healthy. Charles wakes up in Stryker's base, and Stryker gives him a whole spiel about how after Jason came home from Xavier's school, he blamed his parents for his mutation, and began using his telepathy to project horrific images into their minds. Stryker's wife couldn't handle it and killed herself by drilling into her own brain. I'm not going to be including Stryker's wife on the count because her death happened before the movie and we never got to know her, and she doesn't even have a name as far as I can tell. So, as we figured already, Charles finds out that Stryker orchestrated the attack on the president, and we see that Stryker's also been hiding his son Jason away and using him as a mind control weapon, which he intends to use on Professor X to force him to start up Cerebro and kill every mutant. The next day, as Lorio brings Eric his breakfast, Magneto senses the iron that Mystique injected into Lorio's bloodstream, so he decides to turn him into the first incarnation of Iron Man and just pulls the blood out of him. Oh my god! That gives Eric a means to escape and kills Mitchell Lorio once and for all. And while making his escape, Magneto also says ACAB by offing 2 of his prison guards. Back in Boston, the 4 X-Men find a safe haven at the Drake residence, or so they think. It turns out Bobby's family isn't quite as accepting as mutants as he'd hoped, and it makes for a pretty awkward reunion, as well as a pretty decent analogy of homophobia.
Have you tried not being a mutant?
The icing on this metaphor is that the most recent incarnation of Iceman in the comics is gay. So Bobby's shitty little brother calls the police to report those dirty, dirty mutants, and just like that, another safe house bites the dust. As the cops surround the quartet, one of them seems to have an itchy trigger finger and caps Logan right in the head. This prompts John to go on an explosion spree that would make Michael Bay proud, but I don't think he actually kills anyone here. At worst, I'd say he gives these cops some pretty deep burns. Before he can wreak more havoc, however, Rogue grabs his ankle to temporarily steal his powers from him. Logan comes to in time for Storm and Jean to touch down in the jet, giving them a way to escape. After a brief bout of turbulence, outrunning fighter jets and a few near-death experiences, you know, the usual, the crew must forge an uneasy alliance with Magneto and Mystique to take down Stryker and his underground base at Alkali Lake. While the team gets ready, Logan and Jean discuss their will they won't they plot development, and Logan just straight up forces a kiss onto Jean immediately after she tells him that she loves Scott, or Form Wolverine.
Alright, Jean, it's time to choose. Is it gonna be me or him?
I like Scott.
And that leads into one of the strangest scenes in the entire franchise, where Mystique, pretending to be Jean, gets all up on Logan and starts making out with him before he kicks her out of his tent. I'm not kidding, it's so surreal and jarring, but thankfully it's forgotten about quickly and it's never brought up again. On the jet, Eric has a nice chat with John, foreshadowing his turn to the Brotherhood in the 3rd movie.
You are a god among insects. Never let anyone tell you different.
After they touch down, they send Mystique to infiltrate the base, but when she's made, more gunfiring ensues. She manages to dodge their bullets, however her human shield is not so lucky. She gets the rest of the team in, but Logan is too preoccupied with his personal vendetta to follow the plan, so he sets off to find Stryker on his own. While Storm and Nightcrawler save the kidnapped children, Cyclops is back and all sorts of drugged up on obedience juice. Dude, you really shouldn't be firing your laser eyes under the influence. You might hurt someone. Even worse, Jean and Scott's powers combine to form a shockwave that cracks the dam they're under. later. And now we're on the escape detail before the whole base floods. After some fragmented memories make their way into Logan's head, giving us 2 very quick flashback kills, Logan meets up with Stryker's other drugged assassin, Yoriko, and they have an all-out adamantium-fueled duel which ends when Logan sticks Yoriko with a syringe and pumps her entire body full of the world's heaviest metal. Talk about Slayer. In a scene that required me to go through frame by frame to get the correct number, Magneto and Mystique gain entrance to Cerebro by blowing up 9 guards, which includes Sergeant Marcus Lyman. Eric manages to stop Charles before he kills all the mutants, so thank God I didn't need to count all those deaths. Wait, what's that, Eric? You're gonna switch it up so he's actually killing all of the humans instead before making an escape on a helicopter? Damn it! Nightcrawler and Storm get in just in time to stop any mass murder and keep our kill count at a decent number. Stryker manages to escape during all the ruckus, but before he can get too far, he's pinned down by Wolverine. The X-Men make it out of the base, and it seems like they're stranded, but they're saved last minute by a rogue squadron. Wolverine throws his dog tags to the ground and chooses family over answers. And now everything seems alright. Right? Wrong. The jet isn't working, and John, now going by Pyro, took off with Magneto. The dam bursts, and Jean realizes that she has no choice but to leave the jet and force it to take off using all the power she can muster. Jean telepathically says her last goodbyes, and sends the jet into the air as water rushes around her. As the X-Men take off, William Stryker and his son are lost in the ensuing flood. Back in the White House, the president prepares to give an address about how dangerous mutants are, but is cut off by the arrival of the X-Men telling him, in the most ominous way possible, that they're not a threat, and if they work together, they can prevent a war between the humans and mutants and work toward a better future. So that's pretty nice. The movie ends with the team mourning the loss of Jean, as James Marsden shows off his seriously impressive acting chops.
She's gone.
No! You don't say that!
We gotta go back.
She's gone. No! No!
But judging by the fact that I didn't add Jean Grey to the kill count, you know what's gonna happen in the next movie. There were a whopping
24
deaths in X2, by my count at least. More than 3 times that of the body count of the first movie. I guess sequels really do have more casualties. The Platinum Batarang for coolest kill will go to Lady Deathstrike, because when you think about it, she wasn't in control of her actions, and that was a horrible way to go, so I think I owe it to her. The Rusty Shield for lamest kill has a few options, but I'm gonna give it to William Stryker, because he was such an asshole, and I wish we got to see him get the comeuppance he deserved. X2 was released in 2003 to critical and financial success, much like its predecessor. Unfortunately, the next film in the franchise would not be so well received, even if I personally have a soft spot for it. Stick around to find out how many people died to bring the Phoenix Saga to screens, for the first time around that is, next time on Superhero Kill Counts. Thanks everyone.